Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling something really special, a way to solve those messy, tangled up problems that just feel impossible. We're going to learn how to spiral up to a solution, not just in circles. Oh, you know the feeling, right? You're in a meeting, maybe a debate with friends, and you just keep having the same conversation over and over. Everyone makes their point, digs in their heels, and an hour later, you're right back where you started. It's so frustrating. A total stalemate. But what if there was a way to actually break that cycle? A structured method that could turn those dead-end conversations into a real, genuine breakthrough, creating a solution that nobody even thought of at the beginning. Well, that method has a name, Spiralogue. It's pretty clever, right? It combines spiral and dialogue, because the whole point is to elevate the conversation. Instead of spinning your wheels, you're spiraling up, building on each other's ideas to get to a much higher level of understanding. So you're probably wondering, how does this thing actually work? Well, the Spiralogue method has 5 main steps. And to really see how powerful they are, we're going to follow a case study where this process was used to tackle a huge, complex topic: gender equality. Okay, so to bring this all to life, we're going to follow 3 explorers. They're using the Spiralogue method to dig into Sustainable Development Goal number 5. Gender equality. Now, the key here is that they're not opponents, they're collaborators, and each one brings a totally essential perspective to the table. Let's meet them. First, we have Sato, who we'll call the realist. He's all about what's practical and what can actually get done. Then there's Tanaka, the analyst. She lives and breathes data and is focused on the broad systemic impact. And rounding out the group is Yamada, the creator, who zeroes in on the core values and the big new ideas. So let's start with Sato, the realist. His whole philosophy is about feasibility. He's not interested in pie-in-the-sky ideas. He wants to know, okay, but what can we do right now? What's actually possible? So Sato's opening argument is all about tangible, concrete reforms. He's talking about things like making paternity leave mandatory to rebalance the load at home. He points out that for a deep issue like FGM, just passing a law isn't enough. You have to go after the cultural roots. And he's adamant that you need corporate leaders to step up and actually promote women. Next up, we have Tanaka, our analyst. For her, it's all about the data. She sees gender inequality not just as one problem, but as this huge systemic issue that creates a domino effect across all of society. Tanaka's argument really paints that big picture. She connects the dots, showing how not educating girls makes them vulnerable to things like trafficking. She highlights super practical barriers, like how a simple lack of safe toilets can keep girls out of school. She even puts a number on the invisible stuff, pointing out the massive economic cost of women's unpaid work. And finally, we have Yamada, the creator. For her, policies and data are important, but they're just scratching the surface. She argues that the real work, the real battle, is for hearts and minds. It's about challenging those deep-seated beliefs that cause the inequality in the first place. Yamada's focus is on what you might call our cultural programming. She's talking about the unconscious biases we learn as kids, like telling boys don't cry. She wants to make all that invisible work at home, the unnamed chores, visible so they can be shared. Her solutions are about changing culture through education, media, and even tech, like using gender-neutral emojis to shift our norms. Okay, so we've got all 3 starting points on the table. Now we get to the real engine of the Spiralogue method, the circular questioning. And listen, the goal here isn't to tear each other down. It's to get genuinely curious, to find hidden links, and to really challenge the core assumptions everyone walked in with. So the whole thing kicks off when Yamada, the creator, asks a pivot question. This is a special kind of question that's meant to challenge the whole foundation of an argument. She asks Sato, will your practical policies ever really work if the culture underneath them doesn't change? I mean, what good is mandatory paternity leave if society still quietly believes that a man's place is at work? And this is where the magic starts to happen. Instead of getting defensive, Sato has this amazing insight. He goes, you know what? You're right. He sees that it's a two-way street. A new policy can force a new behavior, a new normal, and over time, that new normal can actually start to change the old, stubborn values. The questioning keeps going. Now it's Tanaka, the analyst, who asks an inter-question. This kind of question looks at the interaction between two viewpoints. She turns to Yamada and says, "Okay, changing values sounds good, but it's slow. How can we possibly measure something that abstract? How do we connect it to the hard data I care about, like the gender gap index?" And Yamada's response is just brilliant. She comes up with this powerful metaphor. She says, think of value change as the cultural infrastructure. It's invisible, sure, but when it shifts, you absolutely see it in the hard data Tanaka loves. You see it in things like more female managers or more dads taking paternity leave. The values are what drive the numbers. This right here is the turning point. After that intense questioning, something incredible happens. They don't just understand each other better, their own ideas start to evolve. They are now ready to build something that's a true breakthrough. You can see this change so clearly in Sato, the realist. He came in focused only on what was immediately feasible. But after this dialogue, he's talking about a new idea, true feasibility. He now gets that the most practical solutions are the ones that are built to last because they actually change the culture, not just the rules. And all this evolution didn't just lead to some watered-down compromise. No way. Instead, it allowed them to co-create what's called a fourth solution. This isn't a mashup of their old ideas. It's something totally new, something that emerged from the dialogue that none of them could have come up with on their own. And here it is. Their fourth solution was a community-level gender-inclusive ecosystem. And just look at how perfectly it weaves together all three perspectives. You've got an education hub, that's Yamada's value-driven axis. You have a resource center, that's Tanaka's data-driven analytical axis, and a corporate platform, that's Sato's practical, action-oriented axis. It's a complete, holistic system, and this really gets to the heart of it. The key discovery in this whole process is that combining different viewpoints isn't about compromise. It's not about everyone losing a little. It's about using those different perspectives as building blocks to create something way better, way stronger than any one person could have designed alone. Sato, our realist, put it perfectly. He said his biggest takeaway was that feasibility isn't some fixed wall you run into. By bringing in these other views, they created this bigger, more ambitious solution that was surprisingly more achievable because it tackled the problem from every single angle. So that's the incredible power of spiraling up. And it leaves us with one final question for you. Think about the big, impossible problems in your own life, your team, or your community. What kind of breakthrough could you unlock if instead of just going around in circles, you decided to start spiraling up?